Hi, my name's Mick Dawson. I'm the author of the book Never Leave a Man Behind. This is an extract from that book from the chapter Hurricane Lane. The book's published June 25th, 2020. After more than 2 months at sea, overcoming what seemed like an endless stream of increasingly devastating and demoralising challenges, and with success almost within our grasp, it appeared the cruelest outcome of all awaited us: ignominious failure just in sight of the finish line. I called Chris on the satellite phone to discuss the options and to hopefully discover at least some small measure of positive news. I was pleasantly surprised to discover there was some. The projected path of the storm meant if we deployed the parachute anchor to halt our progress, we would be in the safest possible position to survive the storm. Deploying the parachute anchor at a present location would slow our progress west, if not halt it, but keep us in a position where we could escape the worst of the hurricane's ferocious winds. We were in the survivable quadrant of the hurricane, so our luck hadn't totally deserted us. The bad news was that for every mile further west we progressed, it would bring increasingly powerful wind speeds and the mountainous seas those winds would generate. With Lane's progress across the Pacific once again picking up pace, racing the storm into Honolulu would almost certainly see us caught just offshore when she hit. That would be a deadly situation for any vessel, let alone a small ocean rowboat. Chris suggested optimistically that there was a possibility of running for the sanctuary of a slightly closer port on a nearer island. Even that option left us vulnerable to being caught at sea just as the storm arrived. There were just two viable options: stay on the boat and try to ride out the hurricane that was barreling towards us, or call for help and get off as soon as possible. My natural inclination was to stay and ride the storm out. I built Bo to survive exactly the conditions which were coming, and I was confident she would keep us safe, as she always had done on the 6-month crossing of the North Pacific Chris Martin and I had completed 9 years earlier. Severe weather was a constant issue on that voyage of almost 7,000 miles, and Bo had carried us safely through everything the North Pacific had thrown at us. But Sparky was injured, constantly in considerable pain and discomfort from his damaged shoulder, and exhausted. The sole purpose of our voyage, which we'd named the Cockleshell Pacific Endeavour, was for him to become the first visually impaired person to row the Pacific Ocean. We wanted to show the world that blindness didn't have to limit what you could achieve. One thing was for certain though: whichever course of action we followed, it was Sparky's decision. Mate, you know that hurricane I mentioned yesterday? The one that's going to miss us? He emphasised going to miss us, almost as if it was a promise which I was about to break. Yeah, that one. Well, I paused before breaking that unspoken promise. I've just had an update. It's changed direction and it's not going to miss us now. In fact, it's heading straight for us. And just for good measure, it's been upgraded to a Category 5. Sparky may have lost his sight, but he was a former Royal Marine. He could deal with the facts, however harsh. He would insist on them. There was a pause. Sparky was out on the deck near the front hatch, wrapped in his foul weather jacket. Despite the proximity to Hawaii, it was still a cold day with frequent squally showers. He didn't react immediately as he allowed the news to sink in. Finally, he said quietly, "Seriously? You're not taking the piss, are you?" "No, mate, I'm not taking the piss." He didn't finish the word or his sentence. He didn't need to. I could hear the anguish and frustration in his voice. 2, maybe 3 days from finishing, and now this. It would have broken many people. "We've basically got 2 choices," I said to him. "Put the power anchor in now and get ready to ride it out, or we call for rescue and get off the boat before the storm hits. Good news is we're in the best position to ride the storm out in, and in the best boat. We can survive this, mate. Bo's built to do just that. But make no mistake, this is a life-threatening situation and there are no guarantees. It must be your call." "Whichever decision you make, I'll happily go along with it," I lied. I would never have happily left Bo. I paused for a few seconds before asking solemnly, "Well, do you want to get off, mate?" He turned towards me and said slowly, "Of course I fucking want to get off." My heart sank. He paused for a few seconds longer, staring into the distance before carrying on. "But I'm not going to, am I? Do you think I'm going to come all this way to let you and everybody else down? We'll stay on board and ride the bastard out." He slowly turned towards me, a typically broad grin spreading across his face. "Anyway," he said, "I've been through a hurricane before." "Really?" I replied doubtfully. "When?" "When I was in the Corps in 1984 on HMS Hermes. In the middle of the Atlantic, no big deal," he said dismissively. I smiled and shook my head. "Mate, HMS Hermes was an aircraft carrier. We're on a rowing boat. This is going to be a bit different." He shrugged his shoulders and smiled. "Right," he said. "What do we need to do first?" Decision made, we began to prepare Bo and ourselves for the deadly storm, all the time trying not to think too deeply about what the next couple of days had in store for us.